In 2017, a video game released so unique that it became a global sensation, cementing itself into gaming history. But I will never be able to forgive it for what it did. With the sheer amount of video games out there, I can say with certainty that there's at least one that will appeal to every single person on this planet. We've got casual games that have creative gameplay and charming art styles. There are games notorious for their difficulty, but the feeling after triumphing over a seemingly unbeatable foe is unmatched. And then of course there's the, where is it? Oh yeah, the oh god, it burns, end my suffering, who made this game? Games. But who would want to torture themselves instead of choosing a balanced, joyful experience? In 2007, the rage game genre exploded with titles like I Wanna Be the Guy, Cat Mario, and The Big Adventure of Owada's Life. The internet ate these games up. There was something so addicting about attempting to beat a game where all the odds are rigged against you. All of these projects were made by a single developer, but regardless of that, they captivated their audience by simply making them angry. As time went on, rage games slowly evolved from niche, freeware on the internet into modernized classics. But in 2017, everything changed. A genre-defining game emerged, so unique, so challenging, so evil, that it set the internet ablaze. Even after a decade of games made to hurt you, this one stood out from the rest. And this game is none other than... I don't know why I'm making this cinematic, it's literally the title of the video. If you've never heard of Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy, let me explain why it was so unique. First off, you gotta get to the top of this mountain, but if you fall, you lose progress and have to redo sections over and over and over again. And secondly, the controls are absolute garbage, but that's the point. In most games, if the controls are broken or the mechanics are unfair, players will quickly label them as bad or unplayable. But Getting Over It is different because it utilizes a strategy called anti-design. Anti-design is where instead of giving the player the most intuitive experience possible, they're given horrible controls. But with enough dedication, it's possible to get slightly better. This isn't the first time Bennett Foddy has made video games using this approach to controls. Around the era of these games, Foddy was responsible for his own diabolical creations, but they were difficult for a different reason. This is QWOP. Released in 2008, this game has a very simple concept. You're a track star and you gotta perform a 100-meter dash, but there's a glaring issue. This guy doesn't know how to run. There are 4 buttons to use, Q and W for the thighs and O and P for the calves. This game stood out from the rest because instead of unfair, impossible to avoid obstacles, the challenge resides entirely in you learning the controls. Because of QWOP, it became apparent that ironically bad video games can unironically become a massive success. That same logic is applied here with Getting Over Its extremely unconventional controls. When you start playing, you're met with the tutorial. A tree. It may take you a minute to get over it, or it may take you 10, but regardless of how long that takes you, it's obvious for anyone that with controls this abysmal, climbing up this mountain will be a tall task. If you play this game, you're either gonna say, this is unfair, why would I waste my time doing this? Or, even though the odds aren't in my favor, I will prove to myself that I can conquer this game. This experience was created not only to make you angry, but to teach you how to play in Zen mode. The balance of terrible controls and precise jumps makes for a completely unique gaming experience. To ensure that you don't gouge your eyes out, Bennett Foddy will narrate over the game and encourage you not to give up on this arbitrary goal of reaching the top. Like,
oof, sorry about that.
And,
oh, you just lost a lot of progress. That's a deep frustration, a real punch in the gut.
Why is everyone calling this guy evil? He's so nice. He also yaps about the process of making this game and philosophical concepts, but most importantly, he says this.
Now I know, most likely you're watching this on YouTube or Twitch, while some dude with 10 million views does it for you.
He's talking about you guys! This was the breakthrough for Mr. Foddy. This is how the game spiraled into a global sensation. Step 1, person sees a YouTuber or streamer raging at Getting Over It. Step 2, person says to themselves, what? I can do that. Step 3. Even though Bennett Foddy has made these kinds of games in the past, the internet wasn't nearly as popular in the late 2000s. But in 2017, gaming exploded in popularity, seemingly in a fortnight. YouTube and Twitch were both growing stupidly fast around this time, and influencers influenced a lot of people. With the internet at an all-time high, this game's existence had a gigantic spotlight aimed directly towards it. Yet again, Bennett Foddy proved to the world that ironically bad games can go viral with enough effort put into them. Even with controls forged out of used floss and wet cardboard, Getting Over It was the highest grossing game on Steam for a short period. Getting Over It was created with one goal in mind, and it succeeded. There was no need for a sequel because the game was so simple, but after the success of anything new, it is inevitable that there will be copycats. At face value, Getting Over It was made to make you angry. And that's all some developers saw it as. They didn't see it as the goofy, silly, ironic haha game that it was meant to be, but as a millionaire goldmine ooh la la cha-ching game. These are the consequences of getting over it. With the emergence of this new genre of game, the community gave it a proper title: foddy games. In order to make a foddy game, you need to meet 2 requirements: make the player reach the top, and if you fall down, you need to redo sections. Wait, no, that can't be it. Aren't we missing something? Something that made getting over it so unique? The criteria for making a foddy game has been watered down, because the third and most important rule is having terrible controls. The entire purpose of why getting over it was created doesn't even need to be present in these new spin-offs, and people still label it as foddy. Some of these foddy titles did stay true to the original formula, but the one that I want to talk about didn't. This title holds the crown as the most unapologetically uninspired dumpster fire of a video game. And that game is only up. Like getting over it, this project was made by one person who goes by Sicker Games, and right off the rip, this game hits you with some thought-provoking dialogue.
Oh, don't look up. We need to get to the top. I'm sure we'll make it. I wonder what awaits us there? The unknown is frightening.
Let's not rag on the voice acting of this definitely real human. This is a video game. Let's talk about the gameplay. Since this is a foddy game, there must be some unique way to traverse up this world, right? Yeah, of course. Take getting over it, except remove the hammer and the cauldron, now add legs and the ability to jump. It's just a normal guy. Okay, but the controls to jump are probably pretty hard to master, right? Maybe you gotta control each of his legs manually? No, actually it's extremely easy. Matter of fact, if you walk up to certain objects, you'll climb up without needing to press anything. It's obvious that this game missed the memo of what made getting over it such a unique and successful video game, which is the mastery of controls. Because of its simple control scheme, the platforming in this game is very bland. If you play this game for 10 minutes, then you've already experienced everything that this game has to offer. With no critical thinking required, this game is just flat out boring. Making a video game must be extremely difficult, especially if you're working on it alone. But I don't see how placing pre-made assets all over the place can be challenging. Fundamentally, this game is bad, but does it do anything exceptional? Actually, yes. This one thing that it utilizes is the entire reason why the game is even relevant in the first place, and it's something that I like to call clickbaiting. In 2017, at the height of its popularity, you would watch Getting Over It on YouTube or Twitch streams. But in this new era of content creation, a new challenger has approached, and this challenger has negatively affected millions of people. This challenger is the true villain of this story. This challenger is none other than short-form content. Entertainment has drastically shifted from horizontal videos to vertical videos in the form of TikTok and Shorts. Everybody knows how easy it is to consume this kind of content. As of today, it is undoubtedly the most socially accepted addiction in our society. Instead of having difficult platforming to raise the stakes, OnlyUp does something that proves that it doesn't have any respect for your time. A few objects will just fall if you land on them, and there isn't really any way of knowing beforehand. You can imagine how a streamer would react to this. It was okay for these classic 2007 games to troll you because it only took a couple of minutes to get back to where you died. But for a game to sprinkle in completely random ways to lose progress hours into your ascent is just undeniably unfair. But it makes for a great TikTok. I really hate everything about this game. The way that it preys off of short-form clips, the awful robotic storytelling, the way that he couldn't even bother to connect the railroads together, and the map that looks like it was made by a 5-year-old on Halo Forge. It is genuinely concerning that a game this lazy did so well. But regardless of me hating this game, I also completely understand why it was successful. It's because of this simple cycle: the developer, the streamer, and the viewer. Instead of a developer making a game aimed towards the consumer, they make it with streaming in mind. Streamers amass millions of views simply using short-form content, so by making a game that fits that standard, it greatly increases their odds that the game will be seen, snowballing it into fame. It also makes sense for a streamer to want to play these kinds of games. Beforehand, they know that no matter what they do, they're gonna walk out of that stream with a handful of clips of them raging, which fits nicely into quick 20-second clips. And finally, with how easy it is to consume short-form content, the viewer will watch whatever is put in front of them, and if they get curious enough, they might look into the game and purchase it for themselves. We are in a huge shifting point in content creation where developers are designing games made to appeal to the streamer, and in OnlyUp's case, left us with 99% stale platforming and 1% clickbait. If you missed life before short-form content started to negatively affect gaming, let's reminisce together. Let's go back to a year where OnlyUp didn't exist and where TikTok was nothing but an app to cringe. Let's go back to the year 2019. Right before our attention span was erased for good, an interesting video game was published by a team named Nexile, and this foddy game is called Shovel Knight. Sorry. Jump King! Is that not the same guy? First, let's see if this game checks all the foddy boxes. Make the player reach the top. This game is subtitled There's a Smoking Hot Babe at the top, so I think it's pretty obvious what this game is about. If you fall down, you need to redo sections. This game has some extremely brutal falls, where you just have to sit and watch as you lose more and more progress. And 3, has terrible controls. This game undeniably has bad, inconsistent controls because your jump is completely dependent on how long you hold down spacebar. There isn't a jump gauge to tell you when to let go, because that would be too easy. You just gotta hopefully let go at the right time. Wow, a foddy game that actually follows the true formula. That's so nice to see. Wait, hold on a second. What's this? There's more? Jump King stays true to the foddy formula, but also proves that it's capable of evolving. Jump King includes traditional video game elements like collectibles. You would never think to jump to such a peculiar spot like this, but now that there's a bird with a coin in its mouth, there's an incentive. But wait! Instead of the same trope for the entirety of the game, there are unique environments that actually affect your character's movement. The snow area completely changes the way that you play by saying, "Nuh-uh, your name is Jump King, no more walking for you." Now that you can't move, your approach to jumps that were simple before now need to be positioned strategically. And to your surprise, you'll find yourself needing to jump backwards in order to get a better vantage on the next jump. But wait! As you climb, you find that each location is named. There's a clear distinction between each area, which not only gives you a sense of progression throughout your journey, but also establishes cohesive world building. And to add on to that even more, there's music to match the atmosphere of each unique area. Let's go ahead and compare this to Only Up, where you will explore a vast world with iconic landmarks such as the pipe area, the cargo crate area, and the anime girl that was stolen from a 3D artist area. That one's my favorite. Throughout your entire journey of Only Up, you jump, and that's it. This keeps the gameplay completely stagnant. There are no collectibles, no weather effects, and no characters. But wait, I feel like it's extremely important to mention that Jump King wasn't a solo project like these other games, but was instead developed by 4 people. Some people may argue that it's not fair to compare these games together, but here's why I think that it's valid. If the foddy formula was created by the hands of a singular foddy, then that means that a foddy game is capable of being good even if it's worked on alone. But even with the groundwork neatly laid out for Only Up, the game doesn't add anything special. In fact, it only takes things away. Overall, Jump King actually feels like a video game and added so much love to a formula that was made to make you hate. In Jump King, it's the journey, not the destination. But in Only Up, the only thing that matters is the destination. So, what's the real consequence of getting over it? I believe that every video game has the potential to be good. Even if a strict formula was used, if it's fun, then it did its job. But doesn't it start to feel a little bit lifeless when you take something that created a lasting impact on players and water it down? I don't see a hint of passion behind this project. Instead of crafting meaningful, unique experiences for the player, it's unapologetically traded for brainless platforming and reaction-based content. Many games that took after getting over it did understand what made it so good, and by adding their own unique twist to it, created games that rivaled the original. But it's very clear which ones were made to make a boatload of money in the least amount of effort possible. At the end of the day, it's a business, and it makes perfect sense why developers will make games that are statistically going to be the most profitable. But as a consumer, wouldn't you rather play games that are full of passion? Games that have been loved and nurtured and raised with the intent of being the best video game that it's capable of being? When profit-driven design becomes the standard, we start to lose sight of the human's unbound imagination. With the amount of video games out there, there are so many options to choose from. But the next time that you decide to play a game, I want you to ask yourself, is it worth the climb?